I done $500 to nearly $10,000 in 3 days. So I deposited around $500 and ended up with a balance of $9,000. So if you want to learn how I did it, click the link in my bio right now.
Pretty much all the lawyers in crypto right now are reading this 2022 report from the Financial Action Task Force. I'm one of those lawyers, so here's what's going on. FATF is a group of people who are funded by the G20, and their job is to set the standards for how cash and crypto transactions are to be monitored for basically everyone. In this report they just released, FATF said 3 things that I think are worth mentioning. First, countries and crypto platforms, no matter if it's the US, COINBASE, Germany, Bitpanda, Brazil, whatever, they're not implementing the travel rule that FATF wants everyone to implement. For crypto, the travel rule means that when I instruct a platform like Coinbase to send my crypto to another platform like Binance, Coinbase and Binance need to exchange information about me instantaneously with that transaction, namely my name, my address, and a bunch of other info that actually doesn't make sense in the context of crypto. Crypto platforms aren't following this rule, and their countries aren't forcing them to because it's actually really difficult to implement. For example, the information that KuCoin collects from a German is not the same that Bitpanda collects from a Filipino. How do they know what information to exchange? Further, what if one platform just didn't collect this information from their users? Can other platforms not send their crypto there? These questions aside, the other 2 points from this report I'll note are NFTs are a TBD. There's definitely some funny business going on in the NFT industry, but FATF doesn't know what to do about it, so they're waiting for industry input. Finally, DeFi is also a TBD. If an application serves some of the same functions as, say, a bank, FATF wants that software developer of the application to be regulated the same as a bank. But FATF knows that's going to be so difficult to enforce that they're really not making any rules right now, and they're just going to wait for industry input. And that's the summary of the report. Thanks for watching.
This guy mines around 14 bitcoins per month. That means he's making more than $1 million a month. His mining facility is located in Iowa. He has 1,300 supercomputers mining for Bitcoin non-stop. These computers solve long math equations to obtain Bitcoin. These math equations are called proof of work. What these problems are actually doing is trying to come up with a 64-digit hexadecimal number called a hash that is less than or equal to the target hash. The hash rate is the measure of how fast these computers can actually mine Bitcoin.
You're probably wondering what is the lowest point in which Bitcoin will go to in the near future. And to potentially answer your question, we can head on over to the charts and we can take a look for ourselves. Now, I don't spend a lot of time on the day charts. I'm not a day trader, but I do use charts to have a look at macro overviews of the market cycle to see generally where in that cycle I am when it comes to the crypto space. So if we head on over to TradingView, we can actually slide all the way down to 2013, 2014 bull run. We can take a measurement from the top of the all-time high there, draw down to roughly the lows, and we see it's approximately 80 to 85% to the lowest point at which we went into the accumulation phase. From here, we can also slide on over to 2017, 2018 bull run, do a similar measurement from the top of the all-time highs down to roughly the bottom, and again, we see another 80 to 85% drawdown. So now we're starting to build a case or a pattern, so to speak. Now, not a very accurate pattern and not something I would necessarily take to the bank, but still a pattern nonetheless. So if we make an assumption and we decide to take that similar measurement on the all-time high we just saw recently, we can head on over to our chart, draw down 85%, and slide on over to the price and see that we roughly land at about 10,000 for the Bitcoin price. Now, this is probably nothing and more than likely a worst case scenario, but just something I thought I'd point out.
We're running out of Bitcoin. 88% of all Bitcoin has already been mined. What does this mean, and when will the last Bitcoin be mined? Here's my prediction. There will only ever be 21 million Bitcoin ever created. In 2009, when Bitcoin was created, the mining rewards were 50 Bitcoins for every block that was mined. After every 210,000 blocks mined, the mining rewards are cut in half. This is also known as the halving event, and this occurs roughly every 4 years. The first halving event occurred in 2012, and mining rewards dropped to 25 Bitcoin. Then it happened again in 2016, and the rewards dropped to 12.5 Bitcoin. The most recent halving event was last year in May 2020, when the rewards decreased to 6.25 Bitcoins. It's no coincidence that the price of Bitcoin reached new all-time highs after each halving event. With less supply coming onto exchanges, the value jumps accordingly. The next halving event is anticipated to happen in 2024. So when will the last Bitcoin be mined? The current projection is the final Bitcoin block will be mined sometime in the year 2100. Now the price of Bitcoin is $140.
You're not going to make any money in crypto if you don't understand this one fundamental principle about Bitcoin, the Bitcoin halving cycle. And I see way too many people getting into crypto who know nothing about it, and I see way too many people professing to know when the next bull run is going to happen and have never heard of it. The Bitcoin halving cycle has to do with rewards given to miners. Now, if you didn't know, when you transfer Bitcoin from one person to another, that happens to happen on a computer, which the transaction needs to be mined or processed by a computer, and those miners are incentivized to do so by giving them Bitcoin rewards. It's baked into the program, so it's mathematically going to happen. Every 4 years, the reward that they are given for the same exact transaction they would have processed 4 years ago is cut in half. This causes a supply and demand mechanism to cause a bit of shock, and therefore over the increase of the next year generally sees a price increase. So we had one in 2012, we had one in 2016, we recently had one in 2020. Roughly 1 year later, what happened that made some people a bunch of money from those 3 points? A bull run. So if I were to tell you all this information, when would you guess the next bull run is going to happen?
I just found out you can start mining Bitcoin without ever having to touch or even set up the machine yourself. This company, Compass Mining, runs a Bitcoin miner hosting service. So all you have to do is buy a miner on their website, and then they'll set it up in one of their facilities for you for free. All you have to do is pay for the monthly hosting fee, which is really just electricity, which costs about $150 to $200 a month. And because the price of Bitcoin is so low right now, these miners are dirt cheap compared to what they usually go for. I'm really considering giving this a try and dipping my toe in with one of these miners at about $7,000. But before I do that, I need to do a little bit of research into the long-term profitability of the current miners available and see if it's worth it or if I should just buy Bitcoin at these prices.
A popular question I get all the time is, I'm a beginner in crypto, how can I get started? Well, firstly, you actually need a wallet like Nexo wallet to buy crypto with your debit card or credit card. Next, you need to go on CoinMarketCap. This allows you to see all the top crypto coins and do your own research into them. You can see their website, their socials, their roadmaps, etc. Next, we need a portfolio tracker to track your coins like Blockfolio. And then lastly, we need to go over to TradingView. This actually allows you to see all the charts like Bitcoin.
I actually think the Canadian exchanges are a little bit further ahead, because when I get onto BitBuy now in Canada, guess what I have to do? If I send Ethereum from my MetaMask to BitBuy, on my BitBuy, when that Ethereum goes into my BitBuy, it pops up a little form where I have to say, where did this come from? What wallet did this come from? Or there's a little box that says, I don't have that information. So they give you the option to lie about it, which is crazy. I don't lie about it. I just say where it came from because I know that this is blockchain and they can see everything on the blockchain. So you can't lie in blockchain. It doesn't work.
5 cryptos you should be holding long term.